I used to think staying alive this long was a matter of luck, but the truth is, it was a series of quiet choices I barely noticed at the time. My name is Elijah, and I am 88 years old, and only now do I understand why I'm still here when so many others are not. I was not a particularly strong man, and I was never the smartest in the room either. I worked an ordinary job, lived in an ordinary house, and for most of my life I believed that survival was something that just happened to you. But when you live long enough, you begin to see patterns, not in the world, but in yourself. I remember being a young man, always in a hurry, always thinking about what comes next. I would skip meals, skip rest, skip moments that didn't seem important. I believed that pushing forward was the only way to build a life, and for a while it worked. I built a career, raised a family, and kept myself busy enough to ignore the quiet signals my body and mind were sending me. The first time I truly felt the weight of my choices was in my late 40s. I was sitting alone in a hospital waiting room, not for myself, but for a friend who had collapsed without warning. He was younger than me, stronger than me, and yet there I was, staring at a clock that seemed louder than anything I had ever heard. That day, something shifted inside me. Not all at once, not dramatically, but enough for me to start paying attention. I began to notice how often I ignored my own limits, how easily I traded rest for work, silence for noise, and connection for convenience. And slowly, without making any grand promises, I started changing small things. I ate when I was hungry instead of when it was convenient. I slept when I was tired instead of pushing through. I spoke to people when I felt the urge instead of telling myself I would do it later. It sounds simple when I say it now, but at the time it felt like learning a new way to live. Most people think survival is about doing more, being stronger, or pushing harder, but in my experience, it has been the opposite. It has been about knowing when to stop, when to listen, and when to step back. There were years when life tested me in ways I never expected. I lost people I thought I would grow old with. I faced moments where the future felt uncertain and heavy. In those times, what kept me going was not strength in the way people usually imagine it. It was something quieter. It was the ability to sit with discomfort without running from it, to accept that not everything can be fixed or controlled. I also learned the importance of staying connected, even when it felt inconvenient or uncomfortable. There were days when I did not feel like calling anyone, days when I preferred silence. But I noticed that the longer I stayed isolated, the heavier everything became. So I made it a habit, not a grand gesture, just a simple act to reach out, to listen, to be present. Those small moments built something that carried me through the harder times. Another thing I came to understand is that the body keeps a record of how you treat it. You cannot ignore it forever. I was not perfect, not even close, but I learned to respect it enough to give it what it needed most of the time. Not extremes, not strict rules, just a steady kind of care. Over the years, that steady care made a difference I could feel. There is also something to be said about letting go. I spent too many years holding on to things that did not serve me. Old arguments, regrets, expectations that were never going to be met. They weighed more than I realized. And when I finally began to release them, slowly and imperfectly, I felt lighter in a way that is difficult to explain. Not happier all the time, but freer. As the years passed, I stopped measuring life by big achievements and started noticing the small, ordinary moments. A quiet morning, a simple meal, a conversation that lingers longer than expected. These moments do not seem important when you are young, but they are the ones that stay with you. They are the ones that make the years feel full instead of empty. Now, at 88, I do not see my life as a series of grand decisions that kept me alive. It was never one big thing. It was the quiet habit of listening to myself, of adjusting when something felt wrong, of choosing balance over excess more often than not. If there is something I can leave you with, it is this. Do not wait for a moment that forces you to change. Do not assume you will have time later to take care of what you are ignoring today. Life does not usually warn you in a way you can prepare for. I am still here, not because I did everything right, but because I learned, slowly and often too late, to pay attention. And if you can learn that a little earlier than I did, you may find that staying alive is not just about adding years, but about making those years feel like they truly belong to you.